Hey, what's up, everyone? It's Aaron Prinz here in my home office, working on a new paperclip company, and I caught myself just in time before I started doing all sorts of cool stuff with a new project that I'm working on called Lyra SEO, which is a replacement tool for our own SEO stuff that we do within our business. As you know by now with all the AI stuff, it's really easy just to create your own products versus going into a SaaS. So I'll be open sourcing Lyra SEO soon, but also offering a hosted SaaS version for those who do not want to run Lyra on their own. But Lyra is going to be run through Paperclip, and in my last video I was covering opt-in page and how the PRDs worked for that. Opt-in page is done. We're currently debugging and getting everything ready for launch. The same goes with Lyra. So that is in the works on the other computer here as well. And I thought, well, I'm going to start preparing for importing Lyra SEO into Paperclip. As a company, this is our shared Paperclip instance that me and Sharon use within our company. I was like, maybe I should record this, sort of show you my train of thought on how I set up a brand new company. As you can see on my screen right now, there is nothing in this company yet. There are no agents. Actually, today, Dota released a new version of Paperclip, which includes some of the CLI work that I did, which basically allows Claude, Codex, and all the other AI models to go into Paperclip and create companies, agents, tasks, routines, goals, projects, all sorts of cool stuff. So I'm actually using that on the other computer as well, because this logo stuff is on the other computer. And I've actually created, which is what I want to take you through, my GitHub repository for Lyra SEO, the company within Paperclip, which is how I manage and store and version control all of my Paperclip run projects. So here we go. Here is the PRD. Here's a README, routines, vision, the CEO Bootstrap. I'm using my own vision skill, which is available on my GitHub, github.com/Aaron Prinz. You should be able to find the Paperclip Vision skill there. Highly recommend you use it both at the start of a company, but also if your company's stuck for whatever reason, feed it your vision. And I can assure you I've had some really positive feedback on this, that it actually picks up and starts working. So it's actually doing what you have in mind that you would have done, but without instructing it, because, Paperclip. So back to Lyra. Here I have the control plane package for Lyra SEO as an open source first autonomous AI company inside of Paperclip, the open source toolkit, yada, 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 which is how I have it set up again on that other computer. The files that I've created is a PRD, the plan, how I want a Paperclip to run Lyra. I have a couple of business brief files in there regarding the plan, I want to do a $1 trial for the SaaS, but I also want this to handle the full repository as well. So if we go into the PRD, running Paperclip and open source autonomously inside Paperclip, the two products, so basically what I'm doing here is I'm chucking all of my vision and my knowledge about the project into a PRD. How I want it to be named, right? Because I have two repos. I have Lyra SEO, which is going to be open source, and I have Lyra SEO SaaS, which is going to be the backbone for the SaaS that we'll be running. But if you're using the open source, or if you're not within our company or within our business, you have nothing to do with the SaaS. So I don't want that to bleed through at any time. So that's an instruction here. Load bearing principle, you must be able to delete the entire SaaS repo and have the open core still build, which is sort of the litmus test to see if it still works. What the SaaS monetizes, bring your own key, which is what the open source version does versus the hosted version, yada, yada, yada. What autonomously means, I want Paperclip to maintain and grow the open source project. The code, the open core boundary, releases, contribution reviews, documentation, security, stuff like that. I want it to operate and extend the SaaS. I love building and creating this type of stuff, but I don't really like running it. Sharon is more the operation here, but she as well will be going into Paperclip to oversee and tweak and do all that stuff. So, that's basically what Paperclip's changing here in our business dynamic, is that we don't have to run everything ourselves anymore. We can basically plan ahead and, through, repos and files like this, and then have Claude and Paperclip just pick up. I want everything logged through Git. So Git is the source of truth, that we can then go back in and see whatever it's doing. The agents will receive clear instructions to use Git, branches, comments, stuff like that, to actually keep track of everything here. Open source is first, boundary is sacred, Git is a source of truth, never cross a human gate, research, plan, and execute, which comes from the vision skill that I've had tucked in here. The organization and agent roster that we'll be running, which is CEO, the chief of staff, then head of open source, head of the SaaS monetization, and that crosses. So here's a full roster with what their mandates are, what they're supposed to be doing, and I'm still tweaking this a little bit. The agent files, how I want that to work on the hard drive over there, is I want it to be inside a custom folder, not in the default Paperclip way. How an agent is created. So one of the tricks here is that I'm going to have Claude from outside of Paperclip, set up this entire business for me. I'm not going to be plussing and adding agents, because in the latest Paperclip release, I have contributed, let's see, here we go, some work on, which one was it? I think it was this one then. CLI parity, which basically means that Paperclip is now able to be fully run through the CLI, including runs, including tasks, routines, triggering, creating issues, editing issues, like everything can be done through Paperclip or through the CLI. If we go to docs.paperclip.ing, and if we go to the CLI, you can actually see that over here now, the documentation has been expanded a lot. There's explanations on how to connect to your company, how to get authentication tokens for the board or individual agents, and then to create companies. You can create list companies, get companies. If you're into this sort of thing, definitely dive into the documentation. Highly recommend it, because you'll learn how all of this works in the background. But again, what I do is I send Claude to the repo for this documentation, and sometimes it decides to just clone the entire repo so it can read through it, or it loads one of the individual documentation files that it needs to do whatever it wants to do. So that is how Claude will know how to do all of this. So all of that context that I'm giving it, I'm not literally including it every call, but I give it access to it. I tell it what it is, so that it's able to go in there and research if needed, right? And that allows me to create a really detailed file, a really detailed set of files, on how I want this company to be run and how to do it. And then because it knows what the capabilities are, right? So then once it does that, then I tell it to actually sync it with the documentation in terms of how it should be done, run, and imported. Then it does. I commit everything here in GitHub. And then the company is going to be imported into the currently empty company. I'm going to have adapters set to Claude and Codex and all the other stuff where, how that should be done, or how I want it to be done. Actually, now that I have you here, this actually just completed about 10 minutes ago, because I know what I want it to do, but I also know that I don't want it to run fully on heartbeats, because heartbeats are expensive. And if we go to the documentation and you look at heartbeats and routines, this is a highly recommended read that both myself and Dota have been talking about a lot, publicly and amongst each other. when you first hire your agents, instead of to give each one a timer, wake up every few minutes and see if there's anything to do. It feels proactive, but in practice, it's the fastest way to end up with a sidebar full of paused agents, surprise token bills in the dashboard you have to fight with just to keep things quiet, which is exactly what we don't want. We want this to be autonomous and as hands-free as possible. So that's why routines are the way to go. And I'm sort of crazy enough to say, hey, this is the PRD. This is what I want the company to do. Instead of doing everything on heartbeats, do it in routines and have Claude come up with a way and create a cadence to actually autonomously run the company. One of the big benefits is inside of Paperclip, when you add a task, you can @mention other agents, but agents can also @mention each other. So say that you have a task that's done and needs to be reviewed. Instead of waiting for a routine to pick that up, instruct the agent, hey, when you're done, tag the quality control agent and have it do the review. And the agent will tag the QA. It will automatically review, wrap up. And then you say to QA, when you're done, tag the chief of staff. That way it creates the heartbeat sort of, but autonomously when needed versus on a loop, on a schedule that you might not need. The functionality for a heartbeat is there. Obviously, if that's what you want, you can do it. But routines are a lot more cost effective to actually, again, autonomously run a business, which is what I'm also doing for a couple of other projects. They run day to day. They do support. They do emails. They do sales. They do bug fixing and all sorts of stuff. And this is what I'll be doing with Lyra as well. But again, you're sort of catching me while I'm setting it up. Unfortunately, I was able to start recording. So let's take a quick look. I have not reviewed this yet, but the operating model can wake an agent 4 ways: with a timer and assignment, when a task is assigned, on demand, but with an @mention and automation. So because I'm providing all of this context, Claude knows what Paperclip is capable of. It also knows what to do when. And how to instruct the agent, so the agent individually on its own knows what to do when, which is like the ideal combination of what you should do. So it's all about context, but selectively providing the context. I do have to admit, I do not care and look too much at tokens. I know I'm burning through a lot. I'm using the codex bar here from Peter Steinberger, StyPete, which is free. Highly recommend you check this out. But you can see here that in the past 30 days, I've burned through about $6,000 worth of Claude tokens, 8.6 billion. And then here on the Codex one, we're about $5,000. And then on the other computer, I have another Claude account, which for fun, that's about $6,000 as well. So, about $14,000-15,000 worth of credit. So I don't really look at that. I try to optimize for it, but whatever needs to be done needs to be done, right? Let's look at routines, operating model, run policy for every agent. So it actually, because it knows what's in the PRD, right? The agent roster that you saw before. Now it knows what to do when and who to tag where. And based on that, it's able to create a routine manifest. Daily ops stand up. Let's see. Chief of staff compile the pipeline Git. Mention the CEO with the daily report. CEO relays to founder. On agreed cadence, right? Concurrency skip is active. So because again, it knows exactly how routines work, it knows exactly what to configure and instruct where. That's that. And then how to use the CLI to actually create the routines as well. So, in this case, it's a lot of preparation, right? It's a lot of pre-planning and pre-work, taking the time and effort to actually read through all of it. Because once you have it down and written down and running, it's mostly hands off, right? Once you're at that point of doing that. I think that's all I wanted to cover. So again, the vision skill, the Paperclip Docs repo, check that out. Check out the Paperclip documentation itself. It's created and maintained by yours truly. So it's something that I focus on every single release. Ooh, 70,000 stars for the kit for Paperclips. That's good. I think I'm going to cut it up here. This is how I plan a new Paperclip company in advance. And what you might or might not see in the next video is that I actually just have it all imported and actually running. I hope this helps. Let me know in the comments below, like, subscribe, all that fun stuff. And hopefully I'll see you in the next video. Take care. Talk soon. Bye.